Hello everyone, my name is Mark Jackson, the Field Supervisor for the Reno Fish and Wildlife Office. And this is Phoebe, my trusted hunting companion. And we're here today to talk with you about Lahontan cutthroat trout. I also sit on the coordinating committee, and as stated earlier, the updated goals and objectives only identify management unit objectives and range-wide goals. They do not prescribe where specifically or how specifically to achieve these goals and objectives. Overall, the UGOs identify 34 interconnected and/or resilient stream populations needed to conserve LCT. Since we have 10 to 12 secured at this time, we need to gain at least 22 more interconnected and/or resilient stream populations in order to delist LCT. To do this, the coordinating committee will be strategically engaging local stakeholders with the help of professionals such as Laura Van Riper and Pat Johnston, social scientists and facilitators with BLM. With the help of Pat and Laura, we plan to collaboratively develop unit-based conservation action plans that will help us transition from planning to implementation. However, to tackle such goals range-wide all at once would be impossible. Thus, we plan to do this by conducting a pilot stakeholder engagement effort within a specific area to act as a template for success that we can then apply to the remainder of the range over time. The coordinating committee has chosen the South Fork Humboldt River Subbasin within the Humboldt Management Unit as the pilot project area. We chose this area for several reasons. First, there are already several existing collaborative efforts in this area, such as the Results-Oriented Grazing for Ecological Resilience, otherwise known as ROGER, which is a rancher-led collaborative group that aims to restore and enhance rangelands while also ensuring viable ranching operations. Several other groups and ranchers in this group have been actively involved in riparian management and LCT conservation efforts over the years. These groups are interested in furthering these efforts. Second, we have the regulatory tools in place and practice in the form of safe harbor agreements to provide private property owners with assurances that working on behalf of LCT won't negatively impact their way of life or their business. And lastly, it is a manageable size and contains some of the best habitat within the historical range of LCT. This would be a multi-year effort that is expected to entail the following. First, conduct public meetings in key locations to share information with all interested stakeholders about the LCT updated goals and objectives. Next, conduct a situation assessment within the South Fork Humboldt River Subbasin. Then, we want to create a collaborative group and establish a decision-making process. And finally, develop a South Fork Humboldt River Subbasin Collaborative Conservation Action Plan. This process was chosen to ensure that all stakeholder groups, including local communities, ranchers, anglers, and recreationalists, are involved in and benefit from LCT recovery actions. I also wanted to let you know that the Fish and Wildlife Service has an obligation under the Endangered Species Act to conduct 5-year reviews for all listed species. There is a national work plan for all 5-year reviews, which is available on our national website. To support that work plan, all Ecological Services offices were tasked with setting dates through 2022 for such species where either a 5-year review was never completed or is outdated. Lahontan cutthroat trout was one of those species where the 5-year review was outdated. What that means for us is that the Reno Fish and Wildlife Office has been given an August 2022 deadline to complete a 5-year review for LCT. Although that is a workload for our office, we are well poised to enter into the 5-year review process for LCT because of all the great work that our stakeholders and partners have been doing to manage the species and collect information. Sean Vogt will lead that effort in writing the 5-year review for the Reno office. A 5-year review entails the Fish and Wildlife Service reviewing and considering the best available scientific and commercial data. And ultimately, we use this information to analyze the status of LCT. During this process, we solicit information from the public through notices of review published in the Federal Register. The 5-year review will conclude with one of 3 possible recommendations. 1 is to reclassify the species from threatened to endangered. 2, to remove the species from the list, or to maintain the species' current classification. The outcome of a 5-year review does not change the status of a species. However, if the 5-year review recommends a change in classification, we may propose to reclassify or delist a species through a separate rulemaking process that includes public review and comment. No change in status of the species may occur until the completion of the rulemaking process, which is based on the results of the 5-year review. Once the 5-year review is completed, it will be published on our website. I would like to stress that this fits well with where we are at with the updated goals and objectives, the habitat monitoring effort and database effort. Having a 5-year review in 2022 will help us identify how to prepare for a future 5-year review where we can consider recommending delisting.